Hi, this is Kathy Weymouth from Tune the Temple, and I want to talk to you today about tools. And I'm going to give a couple examples of tools that can really help your life. Okay, now the first example that I'm going to give you is a tool to help you if you struggle with mice in your house. Okay, now the reason I'm using this example is because we have found it to be so incredibly helpful. I live in the stone house where I grew up. My dad was a stonemason. The mice can get in through the cracks and into the basement and up into the kitchen. And I think they're cute. I really do like animals. I think mice are adorable. However, I don't like mice in the silverware drawer or in the kitchen. Okay, that's just not cool, right? So we have tried everything from washing the silverware over and over again to setting traps in the basement to putting poison, which I just can't handle the poison. I do not like animals suffering. So I wanted to find something different than even the snapping mouse traps, which are probably the most humane. Sometimes they don't snap their necks and kill them instantly. They catch their body parts and they're dragging the mouse trap all over the kitchen. And I can't, it's just too sad for me. So anyway, we had a friend that told us about a great tool that's been invented. I just think inventors are amazing. They probably invented because they were desperate to get rid of the mice in their house. But anyway, this tool is made by a company called Victor. I'm going to bring it here. And look at this little thing, and it just plugs into your outlet, and it's an ultrasonic mouse and rodent repellent, and it even has a night light. So I received 3 of these, a package of 3 from our local Ace hardware store as a Christmas present. I have 2 of them in the kitchen and 1 in the pantry. And humans can't hear the sound. Well, it's not plugged in, but even when it's plugged in, you can't hear the sound. But the rodents hear the sound, and it keeps them out of those rooms, which has been a lifesaver. So this is an amazing tool. Victor Ultrasonic Rodent Repellent. Ace Hardware or your local hardware store, or online, whatever. If you struggle with mice, get some of these. They're amazing. They work. It's great. So anyway, but then the reason I'm talking about tools really is more about an emotional need for tools. And this was all inspired by a discussion I had with an artist, a local artist, who was having an art show last weekend, and we went to the gallery where her art was displayed. Her name is Diane Schulenberger. Her art is amazing. I just love it. It's beautiful landscapes done with fabrics and thread, which is even hard to imagine, but I'm hoping I can attach some photos of her artwork to this, and I'll include the link to her website for you. So anyway, she gave a presentation of how she does her artwork, and it's just fascinating to hear. She started out as a kid growing up in a home where they had lots of fabrics and they did a lot of sewing, and I think she got into quilt making, and she noticed that she was tired of turning the edges under while sewing the quilts, and she decided to just leave the edges exposed and just sew on the exposed edges. And that's evolved into an amazing, unique art form where she takes tiny, tiny, tiny strips of fabric and builds all kinds of scenery. I mean, it's crazy. Skies, trees, branches. She'll use tiny pieces of fabric, laying them one upon each other until she has a small image that she likes. And she takes this to her sewing machine, and then she sews around all of this laid out design with threads, and the threads actually become part of the scene. And she said that she can change her threads 8 to 9 times in one project. And I'm like, oh, that's the hardest part of sewing, is changing the thread and putting it in the needle, especially as you get older. But anyway, so her art is so beautiful and so unique that I had a question I wanted to ask her. So I pulled her aside afterwards, and I just said, have you ever considered teaching your art form to other people? Because I'm sure there's other people that do it, but what she has developed is so unique that I hate to see this just die when she's no longer alive. And I hate to see this beautiful talent and her experience and what she's developed just fade away. So I was like, have you ever considered teaching young people like what you do and whatever? And she mentioned that she has 4 grandchildren. And she said, what I like to tell young people is I like to tell them to find tools for living. And basically what she described to me is that she has found that her art and what's involved in making this art are wonderful tools for her that bring her incredible joy and help her de-stress. Okay, so Diane's multifaceted tools here that go together are that she loves nature. She's outside in nature a lot. She hikes, she walks, and she gets inspiration for scenes to actually develop in the studio from what she sees in nature. So that's one of her tools, is being out in nature a lot. And then actually being in her studio and pulling all kinds of fabrics from her drawers and from bins and then threads. And she's got all of this creative scene all around her. And she said that it just brings her such incredible joy to be creating. I can't even picture, because I have a hard time picturing things. I can't picture how she starts and where she ends up with such beautiful scenery. So anyway, she said what's important to her for her grandchildren is not that they learn her style and her art, but that they find their tools to help them, that is unique to them and works for them, for enjoying life and for finding a way to de-stress. So I just thought that was really beautiful, and I started to think about what are my tools. Okay, so in the winter, I really like to knit, and I knit in front of Netflix, movies or TV shows, just quiet and just taking up my knitting and listening and watching a show. I just find it so incredibly relaxing. And so I've made 4.5 sweaters this winter. And I'm hoping to finish the one I'm on within maybe the next few weeks, which would be great. Okay, that's what I do in the winter. And I also walk outside. I snowshoe, we go cross-country skiing. I especially love the snow. And those couple of things really work for me for de-stressing and bringing me incredible joy. But in the summer, I especially like water. Now, I have a brook down here. Oh golly, I don't know if you can see it. Can you see the brook? Oh yeah, maybe you can see it. So I especially like to be by water. And it brings me so much peace, and it just settles me. I especially like fresh water because that's what I grew up with. Streams, brooks, ponds, and lakes. And if you can get me to some water, all of a sudden the joy comes out. So here's my question for you. What is your joyful tool that you use to bring you joy and to help you de-stress? And I'd love to see comments below this video. This video is going to be on YouTube, and you can just comment right below the video. What are your tools? What brings you the most peace, joy, and de-stressing technique? What do you use? And my other second question is, do you need to embrace this more? Do you need to be using your tools more than you have been? Have you been finding life stressful? Do you have a chance to get away and get into that happy place? So I really, really want to encourage you with that. And another tool of mine I just thought of is music. I'm a musician, and listening to music and having background music on and playing in the band. That's also a really happy place for me. So, okay. So here's Kathy Weymouth at tunethetemple.com. I really want to encourage you 2 things. I want to encourage you to please get the Victor ultrasonic rodent repellents, and don't use poison anymore. Don't use those snapping mouse traps, and especially don't use those sticky pads. Oh my gosh, the animals are suffering so badly on those sticky pads. Oh my goodness. So this is so much kinder to the animals if you don't want them in your house. Okay, put them everywhere that you need them. And then the second thing is find your tools and embrace your tools and bring yourself some joy and some happiness, peace, and lack of stress. And comment on the video what those are. Okay, thank you for listening. I hope you're encouraged. Kathy Weymouth, tunethetemple.com.